Back speaking this morning with Christopher Gerteisen from Nova Minerals. Christopher, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. Great to be with you again.
And great to be catching up. Look, loads happening on site at Estelle, but I wanted to get your views since you and I last spoke. A bit more health, a bit more liveliness back in the gold price. You must be thrilled.
Indeed, it's been a real challenging environment over the last couple of years in the gold space for sure. We knew it was coming, and this presents still a major opportunity for investors to leverage themselves against a gold price. We're eternal gold bugs. You know, I've been saying that the gold's going to boom here. I've been saying that for 20 years now, and it's our time will come, is what I tell our shareholders. And this could be it in my mind. It's not if, it's when, and certainly. There's no bull run like a gold bull run, and it's still an opportunity to look at a company like Nova Minerals, which is so undervalued, even relative to peers, but also undervalued now relative to the coming gold bull market, which we believe is here for all the right reasons. Hopefully, for some upside. You know, I mean. Some people say gold could go to 3,000, 5,000. I hope that's not all for the wrong reasons. In terms of, okay, now inflation and now a gallon of milk costs you $100 or something like that. Either way, we see a rising gold price ahead, and Nova is we're positioned to take advantage of that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, in terms of what's happening at Estelle, you've got all the assays in now from the 2022 drilling, have you?
We do. A long time coming. We're progressing here slowly but surely. And we do have all our results back from last year's drilling. So that's one milestone reached. And with that drilling, if you recall, what we achieved there is we did a lot of infill drilling at our very high-grade RPM deposit. And so we expect that infill drilling to be able to prove up the RPM resource into those higher confidence levels. And also, the most recent news release that we put out was on our Cathedral prospect in the Corbell Valley. As part of the Corbell Valley, it's a zone there at Corbell. That was our maiden drill program. We were following up some very high grade rock chips on the surface, and for a first drilling program, very exciting. You know, very exciting. We identified what looks like potentially another Corbell main, very large. Deposit there. Who knows? We're doing a maiden resource on that now, but another 1 million ounces or more, perhaps. We'll see what the resource update comes out with. But we've confirmed that there's another Corbell main, at least for now, style zone there, deposit in the Corbell Valley. So that was very exciting, and in the future years, we will be following that up. Of course. For this year, which we can talk about a bit more about later, is we're primarily focused in that south area around RPM.
And the updated global resource here, that'll feed into the phase 2 scoping study.
Correct. So all the assays back from the drilling now, and now the global resource updates are underway for both Corbell, where we expect the objective there is to prove more of that resource into the indicated category. Of course, existing resource there is 8.1 million ounces, with 3 million of those ounces in the indicated category. And our objective with our drilling there last year was to do infill drilling and prove more of that up into the indicated category here in this next resource update for Corbell. And then also in the global resource update is the RPM deposit, which everybody is very exciting about. We did a lot of infill drilling there, and we expect that the previous resource was inferred status, all of it inferred status. So with the infill drilling, we're seeing an upgrade to indicated for sure, perhaps even some measured. And the measured portion will be in that high-grade bonanza zone, which from what I've seen so far is holding together very well at RPM North. It's right on the surface. Nice big bonanza pod there, which will bode well when it comes to the scoping study and the economic metrics there in terms of payback and NPV, because we'll be getting straight into that high grade zone, which is right on the surface.
Have you given some early thinking as to where you might stick the processing plant?
So for the scoping study, in this last phase, which will follow the resource updates, we still envision the plant to be a Corbell Central Processing Facility for this scoping study. And the reason for that, that's where our major tons are. We've already, in the scoping study phase one, we've already designed all that, scoped all that out, and that's where it is located for now. And then we'll haul material from RPM up to Corbell. Now, it's interesting you say that. The way RPM is shaping up, as well as how that whole south area is shaping up at RPM is also some nearby prospects there, which we intend to drill this year. In the PFS, which will be starting on with our first PFS level drilling this year, there is potential, and we're doing a lot of trade-off studies to move that first plant down south close to RPM. As RPM starts to grow and you start to get 5-6 years of production out of RPM alone of that very high grade material, as well as the nearby train deposit, if we drill that and that starts to develop into more resources, then that certainly builds the case for putting that down south. So to answer your question, for now, for the scoping study, which is due to be released here shortly after the global resource update, we still envision a Corbell Central Processing Facility. However, as we move forward, the case is slowly starting to build to put the first processing facility down south near RPM. This could potentially be a lower capex, smaller throughput, yet yield more ounces with that high grade material down south. But we'll determine that come PFS and get that. And the idea then would be get the early payback and then build and get the cash flow and build perhaps another mining center in future years up at Corbell. So we could potentially have 2 mining centers, RPM south area and at Corbell in the north area.
Interesting. As far as the PFS level drilling, Christopher, what's the plan? Where will you be drilling?
90% of our efforts will be at RPM. That's become the jewel in the crown for the project now, for all the reasons I've just stated, early payback and quick cash flow for the company. So our intention there is to infill drill between RPM North and RPM South. Recall, RPM North has that very high-grade bonanza zone where in this next resource update, we expect indicated for sure, perhaps some measured resources in that high-grade bonanza zone. And the other area that we've now identified and drilled last year was RPM South, which is a mere 700, 800 meters away. And we've established that there's another mineralized zone there and a second mineralized intrusive. So what we intend to do this year is focus our efforts between RPM North and RPM South, a lot of infill drilling and drill that out. And that the implications for further resource upside, for potentially hitting more of these high-grade bonanza zone. There's lots of scope for that in that area between RPM North and RPM South. So 90% of our efforts there to feed into the production profile and the production schedule for the PFS. But also 10% of our efforts in terms of drilling this year will be focused on the train area, which is approximately 5-6 kilometers north of RPM. And it's part of that southern area. We consider that part of the RPM mining complex, let's call it. And there, we've already established and done quite a bit of surface exploration there. And we get, 20 up to 80 grams per ton rock chips over a surface area at train of 1 kilometer in strike, 500 meters in width. And then we've also very close to that, about a 1.5 kilometers to the north, we've discovered another zone we call Trumpet, and there's indications that Train and Trumpet connect. So that's ready for drilling, and we intend to put a few holes into Train this year as well. And our objective there is to establish a third resource, Corbell, RPM, and the idea is after this year to have a third resource, a maiden resource, if we can get enough drilling done at Train. And that's, of course, in the south area, which again will build the case for the southern a processing facility to start in the southern area close to RPM.
Well, look, clearly it's going to be a busy year, and looking forward to seeing these resource updates due shortly, and hopefully we'll have the chance to speak then. Christopher, thanks very much.
Thanks for having us, Andrew. See you next time.